Well, it's not de-escalating, unfortunately. The OSC, which is the independent observers, monitors who are in the area of the Donbass and eastern Ukraine, say they've seen an uptick in the amount of shelling and ceasefire violations over the last 48 hours. And in fact, a CNN crew was traveling near the front line with Ukraine's interior minister when they had to take cover because of incoming mortar shells. And this is the kind of thing that we've seen increasing over the last few days. In fact, it's something that the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky pointed out in Munich, Germany yesterday to NATO allies, that they'd been seeing shelling even hit civilian targets such as a primary school there. So it is not, the tensions are increasing, things are not de-escalating, and that is making people here on the ground in Ukraine more and more nervous.
Your team was actually shot at yesterday. What can you tell us about that? And most importantly, is everyone all right?
Yes, fortunately everyone was fine. They were traveling, as I mentioned, with the Ukraine interior minister quite close to the front line, and what happened was they had this mortar shell coming in from the area where Russian-backed separatists are. This is exactly the kind of thing that we've seen over the last few days. It just happened to be occurring near where the CNN crew was. Everyone there is safe and fine, but it is certainly a reminder of just how tense it is in the Donbass area and how easily it is for things to get much worse very quickly.
How would you describe U.S. President Joe Biden's message at this point?
Well, I think it's clear that the U.S. president is trying to keep one step ahead of Russian President Vladimir Putin by revealing quite a bit of U.S. intelligence that perhaps in the past they wouldn't have revealed. What he's already said, obviously, is that President Putin has made up his mind, in his words, to take the decision to invade Ukraine. However, clearly that has not happened yet, and as President Biden has said, there is always room for diplomacy. So I think the messaging is really the key here, going back and forth, and the U.S. president is trying to stay one step ahead. Whether or not that works, we'll have to wait and see.
It's of course a difficult question, but at the same time it is what most of us are wondering right now. How close are we to a situation where Russia actually invades Ukraine?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. And the bottom line is nobody really knows at this point, except perhaps for the decision makers in Moscow, Russian President Vladimir Putin especially. What we do know is that according to the U.S. ambassador for the OSCE monitors on the ground, they have seen a buildup of somewhere between 165,000 to 190,000 Russian troops along Ukraine's border. That is a huge deployment. In addition to that, the OSCE has said they've seen an increase of these ceasefire violations and shellings happening in the disputed Donbass area of eastern Ukraine. And that is really a tinderbox. Anything there, that is a flashpoint that could really start something. So everybody is watching eastern Ukraine very carefully, and at the same time keeping an eye on all those thousands of troops arrayed on Ukraine's border. And that really is, even though it seems like a normal day here in Ukraine, it does make people very nervous here, and it does keep tensions very high.
Yeah, have you spoken to any local Ukrainians, and if so, how do they feel about this situation?
Yeah, I mean, earlier I took a walk to the memorial for the Heavenly 100. This is a memorial dedicated to those who were killed in 2014 during the protests to oust the Ukrainian government in Kiev. And this is what's really kickstarted in many ways the conflict here. Following on that, of course, what we saw was the Russian annexation of Crimea. So it is a day for people here to remember not only what happened then in 2014, but to try and unify the country. And so I spoke to one woman who was actually a choir master who had her choir singing there at the memorial. And she said everyone there was nervous, but trying to carry on daily life. There is really no other choice, just simply hoping that there won't be war, but trying to keep a feeling of unity among Ukrainians as they face these very uncertain times.